Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Osteoporosis Canada's Cook with OC cooking demo. Before we begin, Osteoporosis Canada acknowledges the land that our offices, located in Toronto, are on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. My name is Tracie Napoli, and I'm the Director of Fund Development and MARCOM at Osteoporosis Canada, and I will be your cooking demo host. Today's webinar will provide general information about cooking and food knowledge. It is not intended as individualized health or nutrition advice. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to a registered dietitian or your healthcare provider. Now, during the webinar, as always, we would love to hear from you. So if you have questions or comments related to the webinar topic, just click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen or enter your comments in the chat. And during the cooking demo, we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can within the time available. And nutrition is a key component for strong and healthy bones. And Osteoporosis Canada's Cook with OC program works to provide you with strategies, new ideas, and to develop recipes to help you get the nutrients needed for good health. And Osteoporosis Canada recommends that whenever possible, to get bone-building nutrients through food sources. So if you are looking to find out how much of each bone-building nutrient, calcium, vitamin D, protein, magnesium, and vitamin K that you need, just visit the Osteoporosis Canada website, the nutrition section, at osteoporosis.ca/nutrition. Here are also some strategies we just want to review before we get into the cooking demo to help you get your bone-building nutrients. So planning ahead, always making a plan, a meal plan, is so helpful. Also to help stay on budget, choosing versatile ingredients that you can use more than one or two ways, and to switch it up. Simple, easy to make meals like sandwiches, wraps, a do-it-yourself meal kit, or burgers, just like today, that you can take while on the road or to keep on hand for a quick meal. And another great strategy is to think outside the box when making your food choices. Now, eat a variety of healthy foods each day, including fresh fruits and vegetables, protein, whole grains, and foods that are calcium rich like yogurt, cheese, legumes, broccoli, and bok choy. Now, to know if you're getting enough, have you heard of the nutrient calculator? Are you getting enough of those nutrients we chatted about? You can go to the Osteoporosis Canada website and you can use the nutrient calculator to track what you need and what you're consuming to get the recommended daily allowance of the 5 nutrients listed. Or if you have a smartphone, you can go to the Apple Store or get it on Google Play, and you can use it very easily on your smartphone or your iPad. Now, today's featured recipe is a turkey smash burger with green goddess spread. And boy, does this sound good. Each serving has 300 milligrams of calcium, 37 grams of protein, 0.8 micrograms, that's what that little symbol means, of vitamin D, 2.5 micrograms of vitamin K, and 40 milligrams of magnesium. I will pop the recipe in the chat, but for this and other recipes, just visit the recipe section. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our friend, Emily Richards, who is a professional home economist, freelance food writer, chef, and she's the author and co-author of 11 cookbooks. Emily also writes and develops recipes for print and online publications that include everyday cooking and healthy eating. And she can be found on TV, radio, and webcasts, just like this one. Welcome, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hello, Tracie. How you doing?
I am doing great. We're finally making it into spring/summer slash a little cooler. We're not really sure where we're at, but we haven't done a cooking demo in quite a while. So we're really excited to see our friends here and see you.
Yes, I'm excited, and I brought along some tulips, so they're just
Beautiful.
ready to open up. So that to me is always a sure sign that, spring and warmer weather is on the way. So I
Exactly.
appreciate it.
Well, and before we get going, as always, we will be giving away that lovely purple unbreakable apron, just like Emily has. So if you're on the webinar at the end, we will draw a name and then we will ship it to you. We'll announce the winner at the end. But today we've thought outside the box, and it sounds like a fun and delicious recipe. And Emily's going to get started. So take it away, Emily.
Thanks, Tracy. It is fun because who doesn't love saying smash burgers? I always think of, I do have to admit though, when I think of smash, I think of Super Mario, and all the smashing that goes on. I guess Donkey Kong could fit that way too. So I don't know if there's any, gamers or if you have kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews that love gaming. Smashing is a big, big part of it. And so we will be smashing, not in any violent way because you do want your smash burgers to stay together. But they will be filled with tons of flavor, which is really what we're all about. And we're celebrating kind of that spring, summer feel. And so there's lots of herbs. I'm surrounded by parsley, dill, mint, basil, all those wonderful aromas. So it smells great in my kitchen. I can't smell your kitchen. You can't smell mine, but you can tell me where you're from. So where you're joining us from today, because we always love finding out whereabouts you are in Canada, in the world, because we have had lots of global participants in the past. So it's always nice to find out where you're from. And if you do have any questions as I'm going along, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. Tracy will keep an eye on that and we'll try to get to them. So I'm going to start off with the herbs because I have herbs to chop. And we have two components. So of this recipe, we have the smash burger and we also have the green goddess spread. So green goddess is the color of the spread. And if you kind of do a little Google search, you'll see lots of variations of green goddess dressing or spreads and things like that. Sometimes you'll see avocado, sometimes you'll see some greens in there as opposed to just herbs. We're focusing on the herbs themselves. So we're looking to get that nice green color and fresh feeling and flavor from the herbs. So I'm going to start off chopping my herbs. So this is the first one I have here, which is fresh dill. And I honestly, I don't think there's anything that competes with fresh dill. Dried dill is good, but it's not kind of as wonderful and fresh as fresh dill. So I'm going to be doing 4 fresh herbs. So here's my fresh dill. And then I'm also using some fresh mint. Now I'm lucky enough to have mint in the garden. So this is a wild mint. So you can see the leaves are a little bit more elongated, but it has such a fresh aroma to it. And all I'm going to do is pluck off these kind of larger leaves. And I love mint. I think that mint is very, very underutilized. So I think not only is it good in a mojito, it's great in salad dressings and marinades, and definitely in recipes like this, like our smash burger, in the burger itself, but also the spread that we're making. So if you kind of are on the fence about mint, maybe this will, sell it for you a little bit. So I'm going to take off some leaves here. And then I'm also going to get some fresh parsley, which I have here. So I have all the herbs in some water because I have a large amount of them and I want to keep them for a while. So I'll show you how I have it here. It's in just some water in a glass. Okay. And you can actually put this glass right into, or if you have a vase, you can put it right into your refrigerator. And if you're thinking, Emily, I don't have room for a vase of parsley in my refrigerator, not many of us do. But what you can also do is wash all your herbs, your fresh herbs, pat them dry, wrap them in some dry paper toweling, and then put them in, if you purchase them in a bag from the grocery store, put them right back in there or an airtight container. And then they're fresh and ready to go. Because I am a big believer of if it's washed and in the fridge, I'll grab it and use it a little bit more quickly. So that's kind of that's my method to my madness. So I have these 3. I've already chopped up some fresh basil, but I'm going to start chopping these herbs. So if you don't want to use, and you don't have to, by the way, all 4 of these fresh herbs, you can use 1 or 2 of them. And then basically you'll get that flavor as the predominant flavor. So here I'm going to get a nice balance of all 4 because I am using a mixture. It doesn't have to be equal amounts. If you really, really love dill, you can use more dill. If you love basil, by all means, use a little bit more basil. And that's what I love about this type of recipe because you can really make it your own and have the creativity of adding as much or as little as you like. So because we have herbs in two parts of the recipe, I'm going to chop a bunch and then measure it out. I'm going to add that basil in there too and kind of just mix it together. And I'm not chopping it super, super fine. You totally can. And if you want it almost puree, like you can actually put the herbs into a food processor and pulse it and do it that way. But I'm going to leave it just a little bit of a looser chop. So I need a quarter cup for one part of the recipe. And then I need a third of a cup. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you saw me pull this. I did not plan for this to be exact because that rarely, rarely happens. However, I'm pretty darn close. And here's the thing about fresh herbs. If you chop a little extra, it's okay. Because I think it adds so much flavor. So I do have a little bit extra. You'll also notice that I'm not like jamming in the herbs. I'm not packing them in there because I don't want it to overtake all the our other ingredients that we're adding. So there's my third cup, which is for the green goddess dressing, I believe. By the way, the recipe's right here. If you don't have the recipe, it's on osteoporosis.ca, but Tracie can also put it up in the chat if she already hasn't, because she's very efficient that way. She's very fast. But I always have a copy with me because I don't want to miss anything because I gotta eat these burgers. I want them to taste good. All right. So I've done that part. I'm going to chop one more thing, which is our capers. So we need the capers for our green goddess spread. And Tracie and I were just talking about this a little bit earlier. And if you take a look at the recipe, we have like a pinch of salt and a pinch of salt. So we're getting some of that saltiness from some of our ingredients. So in the burger itself, we have feta, but in the green goddess spread, we have capers. So that's going to give us a little bit of a bite. So if you're not necessarily a fan of capers, I'm just going to grab a fork. You can use other kind of salty or briny ingredients. You could also just simply use a little bit more salt if you don't want to use the capers, but that adds to our green color. But you could use a little bit of green olives here if you wanted to, in place of the capers. If you're an olive fan, pickles would be great in here as well. We don't need that much. We only need a couple teaspoons. So I'm just going to take some out and give them a little bit of a chop. This is just, again, to give it a little bit more of a smoother texture, instead of having kind of these big bites of capers. Okay. So what I like to do when I'm getting recipes together, and especially if there's a protein involved, like today we're using ground turkey, I like to get all my ingredients that are vegetable based ready first and then bring out the protein. So the protein is tucked away in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to chop up my capers here. And then I'm going to just put them on top of my third cup. This is a generous 2 teaspoons. I didn't measure it. Don't be mad, but you guys don't have to eat it. I love capers, so I would actually add like 4 teaspoons. But 2 teaspoons is all you need for this recipe. And then the last thing I want to do is get our lemon ready. Okay. So the lemon, we're using the rind and the juice for the recipe. So we're using some juice in our green goddess spread, but we're also using the rind in the actual burger itself. So your lemon, make sure you give it a nice little wash. You could use a little soap on it. Oftentimes, when they're really shiny, there's just that little bit of, it's almost a little bit, I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's just a little waxy almost. So just giving it a little rub, and then you'll also start to smell the lemon. That lemon oil will come out and be absolutely wonderful. And then I'm just going to take the rind off. So I'm just using a microplane to take off that kind of outer layer. You can see I'm leaving the pith behind, and I need about half a teaspoon. So depending on the size of your lemon, you might need half or a whole lemon. Okay. And if you want, this is my little lemon rind tip to you, is just take off all the rind, because you'll have a little extra if you want to garnish with the rind, but this also freezes. So if you're making a lemon loaf or some muffins tomorrow, just tuck it away in the refrigerator or the freezer, and then you can add it to your baked goods. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the time to take all of it off. So I have more than half a teaspoon, but I do have enough for maybe some blueberry lemon muffins tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to cut this in half because I also need some juice. And I'm just going to have that ready to go. So part of the, Tracie was talking about having a plan. That's the first part, so that you can actually make recipes and you have all the ingredients at home. Check your fridge and your cupboards first because you may have something lurking in there that you need to use. But getting your mise en place or getting all your ingredients out and measured is kind of the second step, so that you're putting something together and you don't all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, I don't have this. What can I do? So sometimes having, these few minutes, like what we're doing now, and getting things ready saves you. All right. So I think I have everything, my egg, my feta, I have some minced garlic here, and then we're good to go. And we're going to make our burgers. Tracie, any questions as I got all of our ingredients ready?
Hi. Yes. Well, actually, it's more of a comment. So apologies. Our chat, we're just having a bit of an issue. So if you do have comments, just pop them in the Q&A. So we're really
Oh,
sorry
okay.
for that. We are looking into that. And I'm just going to ask. So sorry, Patrick is in the background. Patrick, I need you just to mute the phone because I can hear myself, and I don't need to hear myself. Emily just needs to hear me, or you guys too. So apologies, but any questions? Because thank you to a couple of people who messaged us in the Q&A. So yes, we did have a couple of questions. One was on the amount of salt, so Emily did answer that. So that's great. And then the other question we have is about the protein. So, what are we using today, Emily? And I apologize if you've already said it. Have you? It's a recipe named turkey. So,
Well, it is.
if you don't have turkey, and this is part of the, because it's really important to get protein. If you see that ground chicken's on sale instead of ground turkey or ground pork or ground beef or ground whatever that you would like, we can use any protein, right, Emily?
You can. You can use any protein that you'd like. And I think where it might change a little bit for you, because really the flavors they work well with all the proteins across the board. And if you're already thinking, well, I'm not sure about putting those fresh, the fresh dill with beef, trust me on this one, it's delicious. Same with pork, veal, chicken, across the board, fresh herbs really lift the proteins. And in some cases, like a lighter protein, and by lighter, I mean lighter in flavor, so chicken and turkey. Pork kind of fits that category sometimes. You will get the herb flavor more pronounced, where some of those richer proteins, like beef, that has a little bit more flavor, it's muted, but it still really balances it out nicely. And I think that, if you haven't done it before, I can understand your hesitation, but let's just make a pact that you're going to trust me and that it'll work and it'll be delicious.
Well, and
What I
what
do
you can
want
always
to
do.
point out,
Oh, sorry,
I do
Emily, go
want to,
ahead.
I do
Yep.
want to point out about the lean part.
Yes.
So this is where across the board, lean turkey, lean beef, lean, all across, it's all the same amount of fat in that protein. That on the shelf, whether it's turkey or beef, that percentage of fat is the same. So if that's kind of what's holding you back, you don't need to do that. So as long as it's a lean protein, you can use whatever you like. If it's flavor, then that's where you're going to kind of change your mind and use the protein that you want. So,
Right.
and you can, build up, as I said, one herb more than the other if that's the flavor that you want to come through and be more pronounced.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say, like, if you're unsure about an herb and you happen to have it, you could use a little bit less and adjust for taste. But also, Emily and I were just chatting about we started planting the garden. And, it's now's the time of year where things are a little bit, local, more affordable, including herbs. And you can kind of like mix and match and experiment. So, um, I'm seeing a couple of questions now come through the Q&A. So that's great,
Oh,
everyone.
good.
Send us through that. But yeah, so taking a stock of what you have, because we like to use versatile ingredients. But if you have, maybe a neighbor is growing an herb that you would like, and maybe you could make a deal. Like, I'll
Exactly.
take
Like
some
my
of your mint.
neighbor, my mint has gone over to my neighbor, so I
There
think
you
she's pretty
go.
appreciative that she's got extra mint She
There
didn't
we
want
go.
it, but it's there.
It's there. I know mine goes wild. So, all right. Well, listen, we'll let you continue and we'll keep going. Thanks.
Perfect. And with those herbs, if you do have, let's say, and with turkey, because it makes sense, if you have some sage that you want to put in there, I wouldn't use a quarter cup of sage, but if you wanted to add a tablespoon to the mix of fresh herbs, that would totally work. And turkey or chicken, it works really nicely with sage. So as you maybe, move into the seasons and you want to change it with the herbs that you have, that's another way to kind of showcase the versatility because sage and lemon are a very nice combination with as flavor buddies, we'll call them. So I'm going to start getting the burger mixture together, and this is some feta. So we did touch on a little bit of that salty flavor coming from the capers for the green goddess spread, but here we're going to add that little bit of saltiness and brininess with some feta cheese. And here's a little hint. This is also where we're getting a little bit of calcium because of the feta cheese itself. Okay. Now you can get, for those of you that are looking at some different products, there are non dairy versions of feta that you can use here. So if that's something that you need, you can replace it with that. So what I'm doing is I'm mashing up the feta. So it's crumbled and then I'm mashing it up and I'm going to add the herbs. So this is where the quarter cup of fresh herbs goes in. Okay. And then my egg is going to go in here too. So our egg is there to bind, help everything kind of come together, but also to lift it a little bit. So we all know eggs as, something we use in a cake and helps create a little bit of height, a little bit of texture. And when works really well, also does it in burgers. So just mixing that all together. And then I want to make sure I get all my other ingredients in here. So I'm going to add my garlic. So this is just a little clove of garlic. If you love garlic, by all means, you can add more. You could double up on the garlic if you'd like. Okay. And then I'm also going to add that half a teaspoon of lemon zest in here. And that really brightens this up. And then I'm going to add some salt and pepper. Now, we talked about the fresh herbs. So some of you may be thinking, well, what about dried herbs? What would I do if I wanted to use dried herbs? Well, you can use dried herbs, but you're going to use much less. Okay. So the typical exchange or calculation for fresh and dried herbs is 3 to 1. So if I was using 3 tablespoons of fresh, I'd be using 1 tablespoon of dried as an estimate. However, with that, I'm just going to add a pinch of salt. With that, it also depends on the herbs that you're using. So I'm going to use rosemary as an example. So I would probably use a tablespoon of fresh rosemary. And I don't know that I would use a teaspoon of dried rosemary. It really would depend on the recipe. By the way, 3 teaspoons and 1 tablespoon. That was your little home ec lesson too. And so you can think about it that way. So if you had, I don't know how many of you use dried parsley, but that is something that very easily would fit into kind of that 3 to 1 ratio. Basil tends to be a little bit more potent when it's dry, so I would probably use a little bit less. Thyme, you could use some dried thyme in here if you wanted to. So you could do like teaspoons of things. So think of this as quarter of a cup is 4 tablespoons. So you could do maybe 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley and then add a half a teaspoon of basil and a teaspoon of oregano. Oregano is another one that works really well in that 3 to 1 ratio. So I'll leave it at your, you can do what you'd like, but I would recommend if you are using dried herbs, which again, you can, and add them at the same point because you're going to basically be rehydrating them a little bit with the feta and the egg. And then I'm going to grab the turkey, and that's really where they're going to start to build some flavor as the mixture comes together. Okay, so here's our package of turkey. I'm just going to cut this open. There we go. And it's 450 grams, so it's about a pound of ground turkey. And I'm going to just add that right in to our mix. Okay. And then we're going to kind of stir everything up here. Okay. So what we're trying to do is make sure that everything's nice and evenly distributed through here. And the great thing about this recipe is that within here, we haven't added any gluten. Okay, so there are lots of burgers, especially if you pick up pre-made burgers, they do have gluten and other additives to it. So by making your own, and if you are having gluten-free family members over or friends, then you kind of know what's going into it. So this is a great way. Now, if you're saying, well, there's a bun, well, you could use a gluten-free bun, or you could just serve this on some salad greens. This would be lovely. Okay. We're doing obviously smash burgers, but there's no reason why you can't make this into a regular burger. All right. So here's our mixture, and we need 8 patties. So typically, smash burgers are double patties, so 2 patties. So instead of having one larger patty, which again, you can do, and maybe what I'll do is I'll do half and half. So I'll do 2 regular size burgers and 2 smash burgers, just to show you that it's really easy to do. So I'm dividing this in half, okay? And then I'm going to divide this in half too. So these will be our regular size burgers, okay? And you can see I'm eyeballing it. If you want, you can pull out your scale and make sure that, you know, everything is exact portions, but I'm just eyeballing it because it's a little bit easier. And then I'm going to do the same thing. So I have 4. So this would be my 4 burgers that I would make. But because we need smaller burgers to get our double, I'm just going to have another division here. Okay, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is shape them into balls. So nice and easily. Okay, just kind of doing a nice light roll to them. And I'm putting them back in here because I want to pop this back into the refrigerator just to give it a little bit of a chill. I want to keep everything nice and cold, but I also want the time to let everything kind of come together flavor-wise. Okay, so here's that's the larger patty, just to give you an example, but I'm going to just roll it. Okay, so this is going to go into the refrigerator. We're going to leave that in the refrigerator for a bit while we make our green goddess spread. And then we'll come back to it to cook it. So I said to leave it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, but you could very easily leave it overnight if you needed to, okay? The flavors will get a little bit stronger. That lemon will come through really, really nicely. So you can totally leave it in the fridge for a bit longer. So I'm just going to set that over there, and then we're going to make our green goddess dressing. So how are we doing with questions? Do we have any more, Tracie?
Well, now that the chat is working, so
okay, good.
Before. Oh, hang on. There we go. So interesting. We had we have a good question that came in, one of our favorites. So if you are cooking for 1 or 2, and you're like, well, because a lot of the people we read your survey answers. So just so you know, please do the survey at the end. Because we do read them. A lot of people say, well, I'm just cooking for myself, or myself and one other person. The question is, can I freeze the turkey burgers? So how would we go about freezing this? And then let's talk about what a green goddess dressing or spread is. Doesn't it sound cool to be eating something like that? I think it is. Okay, Emily, take it away. There you go.
You can call yourself a goddess while you're having the spread. So yes, you can freeze these. You can freeze them from raw if you'd like, or you could freeze them cooked. So my preference usually is to cook it and then freeze it, because then all I have to do is take it out and, either thaw it or warm it up in the microwave and enjoy it. I don't have to cook it. So I kind of like getting all that out of the way. So if you're going to be cooking them from frozen, that is what you will do. You don't let them thaw, just cook them from frozen, like any kind of frozen burger patty. And you can do them in the skillet or on a grill if you want. With the amount of feta in there, it does have a tendency to stick a smidge more than a regular burger without all the cheese in it. So I would just add a little bit more grease if I was putting it, or cooking spray, whatever you're using on your grill, a little bit more of that. Or if you have a grill sheet that you put on your barbecue, you can use that as well. You could also just pop them in the oven and do them under the broiler or roast them at about 400 degrees. and then just kind of flip them halfway through. So cooking them from frozen if you're going to freeze them raw, or again, cook them all and then tuck them into the freezer. And it's great because you can take one out, and again, you don't need to have the burgers, the buns. You could just break it up, tuck it into a pita, crumble it over a salad. You can even crumble them up and stir them into a soup or some rice. There's so many options when you have something already cooked. And by the way, if you don't want to make burgers, I know we're talking about some burgers, but you can even just take the mixture and saute it. You have a nice crumbled mixture. You have the added bonus of the egg in there with a little bit more protein and the cheese. It'll be nice and kind of gooey. You could also spread it onto a baking sheet and cook it in a like a square or a rectangle and then cut it up. You can make meatballs out of it. Ground proteins have the versatility to basically be whatever you want, which is, I think, amazing. So if you wanted to roll these and bake them as little meatballs and then toss them with some pasta, it would be absolutely delicious. Zucchini noodles, maybe you're staying away from carbs or it's a gluten thing that is happening where you're having some guests with no gluten. Get some, zucchini noodles and toss them with those meatballs. So the great part is taking like a simple recipe. I know we call them smash burgers, but they could really be whatever you want. And the goddess dressing is an added bonus because you can add that again to any part. Serve it as an appetizer with the goddess spread as a dip, right? I hope you're all writing these down because I'm certainly not going to remember everything I'm telling you. So I hope you do, and then make them and then let us know how it goes. So the green goddess spread is what I'm going to make next. And this is our Greek yogurt. This is just plain Greek yogurt, which I'm not going to say that everybody has in their fridge these days, but I know a lot of people that have plain Greek yogurt in the refrigerator for many, many reasons. They like to add it and use it for baking, spreads. They like to eat it with a little bit of honey or maple syrup in the morning. And so they use it on their baked potatoes instead of sour cream. So there's lots of great reasons to have plain Greek yogurt. One of the things that you hear most often about now is the protein. So I think the highest one I've seen is 19 grams of protein for a non-fat, regular plain Greek yogurt. So that's what we're using. We're just using that. And we also get the benefit of the calcium in there. So helping build those healthy, strong bones with those two kind of main important, nutrients that we look at often. And remember all those herbs we chopped? Well, that's where they're going here. So this is our third cup with those capers that we have are going in here. And it's really kind of celebrating, if you think of Mother Nature as a goddess, let's say, and everything that she gives us with the wonderful herbs, and in this case, the dairy that we're using, it really, really does kind of represent that fresh spring and summer feel. So, it's kind of nice to think about it that way. I'm going to add just a little pinch of salt here, and then I think it's a tablespoon of lemon juice. I don't want to add too much. Although if you do like lemon, you don't have to necessarily add more lemon juice, but you can add some lemon rind and really enhance the lemon flavor. Okay. And then you just give that a little whisk. Okay. And then it has that nice kind of green tone from all those herbs. Now, if you want a really, really bright green, what I would do is pop this into a little, if you have a magic bullet or a little food processor, and just buzz it up. You could do it in a blender too, and you'll get a really, really bright green colored goddess spread. You want to know why I didn't use it? Because I didn't want to get another appliance out. So oftentimes, you're still going to get the benefit of all the flavor, but you don't have to dirty another appliance. So that's why I'm whisking everything together. But you can definitely do that, especially if you want to make a larger amount of this, because this is great even just to, dip in with vegetables, and having it as a little bit of an herb spread for other things too. You could add it to a dollop of your mashed potatoes or a baked potato, or if you're having a little bit of asparagus and you want to change it up, that little bit of lemon in here works really, really nicely, especially with that tang of the yogurt. Did I explain Green Goddess well enough, Tracie, or should I?
Well, I'm just going to jump in there a little bit. So actually, I feel like actually, and I didn't purposely wear this color today. Normally I wear darker colors, but I'm feeling a little green goddessy in my light green top that we've got on. So green goddess is a thing, and it's taking a bunch of herbs and mixing it with some type of base like Greek yogurt or whatever else that you're going to mix it in. Some people add avocado, some people add other things. So it's a really fun name. But to Emily's point, I'm all about not having to wash extra appliances or dishes. But if you have challenges chopping, if you have a food processor, a small one, a mini one, or a chopper, you don't even need to chop the capers or the herbs. You just put them all in there with the other ingredients, and it does the work for you. So we're also trying to give you some ideas if you are struggling a little bit with the chopping. Emily, would you say anything else with that?
No, I mean that makes sense. All right. So, for a lot of people, it is easier just to kind of throw everything into a little blender or magic bullet or something and just buzz it up. So, if that's the case and you don't even have to chop the herbs before it goes into the spread. So what you can do is kind of eyeball and put your whole leaves of your fresh herbs into your measuring cup to get that 1/3 cup, and then just start with the whole herbs right into the food processor or blender and then buzz in the yogurt. And again, I said it in the beginning, a little bit of extra fresh herbs is not a problem. So if you are kind of a recipe follower, which I love those people, you can feel comfortable that if a little bit more of those fresh herbs go in, it's okay because it's just going to have that brighter, fresher flavor and for certain a greener color. So I think that everybody wins in that case. All right, so I'm gonna just heat up my pan here a little bit. And I just put a little cooking spray in the pan. I'm using a non-stick. You could use cast iron here. If you have a griddle, like a flat top, this is perfect because the cooking area is much bigger. So you can actually put all 8 smash burgers on at once. If you have a cast iron flat skillet for your grill, you can do it out there as well and just heat it up so that it's got some good heat behind it. The great part about smash burgers is that the burgers are thin so that they cook fairly quickly and they almost have like a crisp texture. I know sometimes you can't tell necessarily in a photo, but it's really when you bite into it that you kind of get that textural difference where it caramelizes because it's cooked so close and thin to the pan. And in this case, we are cheeseless in the sense that we're not topping it with cheese, but we have the cheese in the patty. So again, smash burgers typically have cheese on top to give you kind of that melty gooiness, but we have the benefit of the cheese on the inside to give you that gooiness, which is kind of nice. Okay, so I'm just going to heat this up. I'm going to go grab the mixture, and you need a spatula. So there's a few things that you can do to make your life easier for smashing. I'm going to keep my cooking spray handy because I find that's what helps. You can also use parchment paper. Okay, maybe I should show you what I mean so that if you want to use that, you can. So I'm going to just take a little bit of parchment paper out to show you. This is also handy if you want to pre-smash your burgers before you smash them in the pan. So if you want to get them ready, you can actually smash them in the parchment paper and then put them in the pan. I'll show you both because I can do that. All right, I'm going to get our mixture here. And this pan's fairly large. I might be able to get 4 patties in here. We'll see. So I'll show you what I mean by pre-smashing. I'm going to get just a little plate here that will help me. So pre-smashing is taking one of our little balls of the mixture and then just covering it with, hopefully you can see this, covering it with the parchment and then taking a plate and smashing it. Okay. And then you have this beautiful smash burger. So you can do this for all of them and then just layer it in between. So you have the parchment and then you can also freeze them this way. Okay. So that you just kind of pull them out. So if you are a smaller household, you can do this and pull a patty out at a time and then just get it into the pan. So I'll just get that in here. You can hear that sizzle. Okay, so there's one way. The other way is taking the ball of mixture and then taking your spatula. I'm going to put a little cooking spray on it and go down and smash it right into the pan. Okay. There. Now, the other method is, this is if you want to kind of use one spatula. So you're going to take another ball of mixture, and you can actually, instead of using your spatula, you're going to use the parchment paper and then the spatula to smash down. Okay. And then you just lift off your parchment paper. This guy flipped up, so let me fix that. All right. I'll do it that way a minute. Okay. So I can fit 3 in here comfortably. There. So just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do to smash the burgers. Now, to make this go faster, what you can also do is put a lid on the pan and kind of steam them. But I actually like getting that crispiness around the edges and not having so much steam in them. If I was melting cheese on top, that added steam will definitely help. But in this case, you can see how quickly the protein cooks. So this is very typical of all proteins. You're going to start to see it cook around the edges first. So it starts to change color. And then you're going to start to see the golden brown around it. That's the cheese melting and caramelizing. So you can kind of see what's happening there. And then as we flip it, it'll have that really nice golden brown color. So what I did was I washed my spatula because now I'm going to flip it. This is where the parchment paper comes in handy, because then when you flip it, you can smash the burger again, okay, with the same side. So we'll flip that and smash it down. And then you can see how nice and golden that patty is. Okay. And that's where we get the nice kind of crispy bits with a little bit of feta in there. You can see they get nice and golden. And then just mash that guy down a little bit more. Move that one over. Okay. And I'll put this other patty here and squish it with my parchment paper. There we go. So pretty straightforward, right? Pretty easy, and it's quick. So oftentimes when you're making burgers, I will talk about, degree of doneness. You're looking for 160 with your thermometer. It's a little trickier to do that when you have a smash burger because it's so thin. And so if you were to take a thermometer to this, you'd basically be hitting the pan. So because it's so thin, you're looking for that nice golden brown color on the outside, and so that it's no longer pink on the inside. So really within about 5 minutes, you get a nicely cooked burger, okay? Where it's different is if you want to make a regular burger, okay? So these bigger ones will take a little bit more time. So I'll put those on after and show you what I mean. So take a peek under here. They're not quite golden yet, but I definitely want to make sure they're smashed. And it's funny because I'm not a big believer of smashing regular burgers. So if if you maybe do it, you don't have to admit to it, but someone who's grilling and they're putting burgers outside, you can kind of see them smashing the burger into the grill. Don't do that. It's got lots of juice and flavor in there. Just let it sit, and grill, and then flip it. And then when you bite into it, it'll kind of have that bursting, delicious flavor of a burger, and it'll be nice and juicy. We're here, total opposite. Smash it, get that nice crispness in it. And the bonus here is that you have 2 layers of that burger. So it's a really, really nice flavor to bite into. Okay. So we want that nice golden brown color coming through on both sides. Okay. I'm going to flip this one here. Give it a nice smash as well. And then I'll get this guy off. So if I flip it, you'll see that it has that nice kind of golden brown on that side too. The first side always I find just looks nicer. And then what I'm going to do for these regular burgers, okay, so if you want to just make 4 regular burgers, I'm just going to press it out and shape it into kind of the size. I always like to make the burgers a little bit larger than the bun because they do tend to shrink a little bit, okay? And then just put it right into the pan. So these will take a little bit longer to cook because of their thickness. So you really can control how you want to make these burgers. Okay. There. So there's our burgers going in. And if you wanted to make these into meatballs, I would probably say, 12 meatballs would be a great amount to roll these in. And FYI, 12 slider buns come in a package. So these would make great sliders as well. So again, turkey sliders with the green goddess spread and appetizer or a little, afternoon pick-me-up or dinner. And, maybe the kids will even dive in and enjoy some. All right. What do we think, Tracie? Do you like them as a whole burger or the smash burger? Giving
Well,
you
let
some
me tell
options
you,
today.
I love a good burger. I just love a good burger. And I'm glad that you touched on the whole juicy thing. So there are people who touch the food too much. They're smashing it and leave the food alone. Except, right, Emily? Because we know, because you're taking all the flavor and the moisture out of it. There's a reason, there's an actual cooking reason for a smash burger. And you're not making them dry, you're making them more caramelized. So it's a different texture. So there is a reason to do it this way. But also, and Emily and I always say this, if we didn't talk and you guys weren't here, this would be done probably in like 15 minutes. So it's
Yeah.
a really quick dinner because, and again, we read the surveys, we ask people, what kind of is a barrier to cooking at home, etc. And a lot of you tell us you don't want to cook. You're not interested. You're just trying to figure out how to get inspired. And something like this, you can control what you're putting in. You can make it, the flavor that you want. And then you can also, make it, sorry, my phone's going off. Hopefully you don't hear that. Then you can also make it for more than one meal. So that's really great. And these are really tasty. And when we said think outside the box, like serve it with a side salad, you don't need to make a lot of different foods. You're getting your protein, you're getting your calcium, you're getting, all these other nutrients, which is great. So that's really tasty. We did have a question. So if you can't consume dairy, actually, sorry, let's go to lactose first. Somebody asked us, there is lactose-free Greek yogurt, so you could use that. Emily, I'm not sure. Is there lactose-free feta cheese? Do you know?
Yeah, vegan
There's
feta.
Oh, vegan. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue with lactose, you can try those, or you can switch the cheese. Look at all that beautiful toppings that we're going to put on there. Um, the other part is if you are lactose free, sorry, if you can't consume dairy, what other options could they use for the spread or for the feta? So the vegan,
Yeah, the vegan, there's and as you mentioned, like the lactose free products. If you wanted to use any other, like the flavor of a lot of them tend to use coconut milk, which can be a little bit stronger, but the coconut and lemon, like coconut and lemon, actually are quite a nice combination. So don't always think of it as what it originally was, especially if you're already used to using these types of products and you like the flavor. Think of the benefits of what goes well together. So I think lemon, mint, and coconut is a lovely combination. So incorporating that fresh mint with some parsley as part of the herbs, and then using a coconut base, and then play it up. Add some sliced grilled pineapple to it, or that type of thing. It doesn't have
um,
to. It doesn't have to fall into that traditional category of a burger. And sometimes, if you just kind of let your creative side flow, and if you're using flavors you like, it typically will work. So, you're making it for yourself. So don't think that you have to, impress somebody unless, of course, you want to do that, and get them to, be intrigued in what you're cooking. But it really is about you. And Tracie and I, as unless you invite us, we won't show up in your kitchen and
No,
say,
we
"What are you
promise.
doing? How can you be doing that?" If anything, it's an inspiration, and you should celebrate that, because that is something that, creatively in a kitchen is what keeps people going. That's what I like about being in the kitchen, because I get to put things together. And I know sometimes it sounds odd. I know Tracie questions me sometimes. She's like, "Really?" And then in the end, like, it surprises I more Tracie than me, but
For me.
that
Yeah.
people that people really enjoy these flavors. And sometimes you just got to try it, and they don't always work. We know that too.
And that's part of testing. So all these recipes that we do, Emily tests them. We go through them and we test them. And sometimes we're like, that didn't work the first time. We
Yeah.
need to go back and try it again. So a note, and we do say this a lot. This is about giving you strategies and options to cook at home so you can get, nutrients, and it should be delicious. This should not be stressful. However, these recipes are made to have a certain amount of the nutrients
Yeah.
that we have given you in the breakdown. So if you do make substitutions, this is where we say two things. First, make sure you know what you're substituting. So if you're going to go dairy free, your options may, a lot of vegan options don't have calcium or protein.
Yeah.
They may not. You have to read your package label. If you decide that you want to omit something, the same thing. If you want to add things like the nutrient calculator, if you get the nutrient calculator, just punch it in and see, what changes there will be. The other thing we also say is this is one meal in one day, in one week. It's not going to make or break you, but if you can consistently make choices to get all the nutrients you need, maybe you want to not put feta in, and that's fine. And then, take out that bit of protein and calcium and add it to, your breakfast, or maybe have a bit of a snack later in the evening where you're going to consume some nuts or some, yogurt or etc. on its own. So these are just some strategies to help you, and it's meant to be enjoyable. Um, Even though I say, don't tell people to smash their food on the barbecue.
Unless it's a
That's just
smash
my
burger.
personal preference. You can do it if
If
you
it's a
want.
smash burger, you can, though, Tracie. Let's come on.
Exactly.
Loosen
Exactly.
up a little bit.
Listen, I know. And Emily, when she said, if you don't follow recipes, well, that's all me. I'll tell Emily, I saw the recipe that you made, but I didn't follow it. I was inspired, which is what, and then I go, but it didn't turn out. So there you go. Sometimes, but that looks great. All right, so let's take a look at what Emily's putting together.
So this is the burger. I put a little bit of our green gratis spread on the bottom of the bun, and then the two patties with a little bit more. And then I just went traditional toppings, lettuce, tomato, and onion. And it's a delicious burger. I'll close it up. But what I do want to say, there's our nice little, look at that. I'll give you the side view of that guy. Okay. But if you are going to do the regular burgers, I brought out my thermometer. I don't know if you saw me kind of poking around there, but what you want to do is go in on the side here. Okay. So don't go down this way because you're going to hit the pan. Just go sideways in and get the temperature. So if you take a look, I'm at 165, so they're cooked. Okay. So in the time we were chatting, these were cooking, it's done. I can take these out and enjoy a single patty, or I can have my smash burger patties, which are two. Okay. So this is, again, you have the option to make regular burgers, smash burgers. They don't have to be turkey burgers. They could be whatever protein that you want. And then top it off with that green goddess spread. Or if you don't want it in a bun, just again, break this up. You can put it onto rice, lettuce, noodles if you wanted to, add a little dollop of the green goddess spread. And you have dinner, lunch, maybe a snack, appetizer, anything you'd like. What do you think, Tracie? Should I eat some?
I'm hungry. That's what I think. And
I really wish I could share it with you,
I
but
know, no, but you have to do your taste it. We always have Emily. She has to, for on behalf of all of us, she has to taste it. And that looks really good. I mean, I love a good burger. And if you don't
mhm.
have a barbecue, this is great. This is great. It gives you that yummy taste. So, okay, everyone, we haven't done a cooking demo in a while, and so we're so excited that that you were here with us today. Want to announce the apron winner, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. But congratulations, Liza Jamani from Stanhope PEI. You
Mm.
are the winner of our apron. So I'm going to reach out. We will send that to you. And I'm just going to share my screen here. We're just going to share a little bit to wrap up. Emily, you keep chewing. We're all
I
good.
will.
And then, so we are, next week is the last week for our summer activities webinar series, water sports. It's the last one. There's still time to register. So visit our website. Also, coming up, we are going to be doing a GLP-1 medications and bone health webinar. And that's actually, I just confirmed the date. So it will be on the website in a few days for June 4th. We are also going to be doing a breast cancer and bone health webinar. That will be in the coming couple of months. And so just check your email, check the website. When we get that up, we will be promoting that. And of course, we will have more cooking demos and new recipes coming up on the website. So again, please get the nutrient calculator, use it, check what you're consuming, read your product labels. You can get information how to get that on the website. This is being recorded. You're going to get the OC replay. It's also on the OC replay webpage. If you want to watch this again, and just if you don't remember everything Emily said, you can just press play, press pause, press rewind, or fast forward, whatever you want to do. We've got some really good replays like menopause and bone health, and one on physical therapy, supporting good bone health and good muscle health. And Emily did a podcast for us, Stretching Your Food Dollar. You can visit the website. It's also on iTunes and YouTube Music. So you can listen. Emily's got some great strategies to help you stretch your food dollar, all on the website. And as always, if you subscribe, please do. We thank you. We are on social media as well: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Music, and LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone. We had so much fun as always. Take care. We will see you soon. Happy cooking. Thank you, Emily. Enjoy.
Thanks, Tracy.
Have a
Bye,
great one.
everybody. Have a great day.
Bye. Take care.